All right, so can everybody see my screen? It says I'm screen sharing.
It's showing up pretty good. I see it.
Good. Okay. And everybody can hear me okay? Are we waiting for a few more people?
Yes, I have a few. I only have 11. What time is it actually? It's 6:01. Let's see if somebody else is admitting. Okay. 12. I think we need one more. Or no, we don't. I think we're good. Go ahead.
All right. All right, guys, I'm going to be as comfortable as I can here. So, all right. I'm Dr. Ribka. I think I've met all you guys already, or some of you. And we're working on, this is something Dr. Skinner and I can talk about more offline, but working on trying to get you guys back into the clinic. Just having a hard time getting some of the PPE that I think we should have on hand for everybody. So working on it. All right, so this is one of those things, dental radiology is one of those things. I'm going to talk to you about it tonight for the next hour-ish or so, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. And it's one of those things that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense until you start doing it. It's a hands-on thing. For some of us, it comes very easily and very naturally. That's true of, I think, all radiology. For others of us, like me, it's a struggle. It was really hard for me at first to wrap my head around a lot of this. I had to teach myself a lot of different tricks, but it's a practice makes perfect kind of thing. So you start doing it, the more of it you do, the better you get, the more sense it makes, and the more natural it becomes. So this lecture is going to be like, oh my God, what is she talking about? I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't know what she's talking about. I just want to go to sleep. I'm never going to get this, whatever. You will. We like to give this lecture before we have you come into the clinics because at least some of it's familiar to you, all right? And when you come in and you start doing it, hopefully it will be a little easier, make a little more sense, and hopefully we can get a couple of light bulb moments. Oh, that's what she meant by 20, 45, and 90, okay? All right, so I'm gonna skip through some of this stuff because it doesn't apply. This is a long lecture that was made for veterinarians and technicians. Just to touch briefly on radiographic safety. Dental x-ray is less complicated than full body x-ray. There are less things that you have to adjust. The amount of radiation that we're using in oral radiology is much less than what we're using in full body radiology. Dr. Nemec, my mentor, likes to say, you know, I could shoot dental x-rays of your dog all day long and still not hit the same level of radiation as a 3-view chest series. So that being said, it is still radiation. So we do want to use caution and keep ourselves as safe as we possibly can, especially because we do this every day in my practice and multiple times a day. Every animal gets this done. So ideally we leave the room if we can. So if your facility is built in such a way, designed in such a way that you can step out of the room, there are either buttons on very long extension cords, or we have buttons put into the wall outside of the room so that you are actually putting a wall between you and the x-ray beam. That's ideal, not always possible. If you can't leave the room, we want a minimum of 6 feet away from the tube head. So what we have a lot of facilities, what we suggest facilities do, if they can't have something outside of the actual room, that You can actually put tape on the floor. You measure 6 feet from where the animal's head generally is in every direction, and people need to stand behind that line when they're taking x-rays. Just like any of your x-ray machines, you want to make sure that it's operating correctly, so inspect it regularly. This says to use e-speed film to decrease exposure. There are still some places using film, perhaps. This is very old school. This is like dip tanks for full body x-ray. Hardly anybody uses it. And for people who are just getting into dental x-ray, it's very unlikely that you're going to go with film and dip technique. I can touch on it if any of you are using it, but almost everything anymore is digital, which makes things a whole lot easier. Okay, so if you have to be in the room 6 feet away from the tube head, and you should be between 30 and 130 degrees from the primary beam. So the tube head, when we talk about that, everybody's been to the dentist and had bite wings taken, and they take that thing and they put it right up next to your face. That is the tube head. I'm going to show a picture of it in just a second. But you do not, the most dangerous place to stand is right in front of that tube head and right behind that tube head. So you want to be to the sides of it. All right. If you have to stand in the room and cannot be 6 feet away, you should wear a lead apron and thyroid shield. All right. And then again, like I said at the beginning, this is just practice, practice, practice to get as good at this as you can be so that you can minimize the number of retakes. So like I said, these units are different from the full body x-ray units on which, you know, you have to change your KVP and you have big fancy charts for how to set your exposures. On dental x-ray units, generally the KVP, well, the KVP is usually fixed. It's usually set at 70. There are some newer machines now that allow you to adjust that to 60 or 65. But really 65 or 70, there's no reason for you to change the KVP on these. Just really not. The only thing that we change is the time of exposure. The MA is also fixed, so the KVP might be able to be changed, not necessary to change it. The MA is fixed, so the only thing we're changing is your time of exposure. And this is either in pulses or in seconds. A pulse is just 1/60th of a second. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you might need to know that for an exam, but for clinical use, all you need to know is how many times to push the little arrow button up or down to make the changes that you want, okay? There are machines out there now that have little diagrams on them, and you can pick dog or cat, incisor, molar, premolar, canine, whatever, and it will set the time based on that. I don't recommend using those. I mean, I don't recommend relying on those presets to get the best image. I like to teach you guys how to change things, how to look at an image and know what needs to be changed so that you can get a diagnostic x-ray rather than, oh, but the machine said that it's supposed to be a cat incisor, but I took it on this and it comes out too dark. You can't read anything. So I want to teach you guys how to get a good image, not necessarily just what the machine thinks it needs to do. Okay. This is what they look like. This is a Corex system, wall mounted. This is actually an older version. We have a newer version of this same machine in my practice, but you can see, I don't know how to, so you see there's an up button and a down button, and that's just going to increase or decrease the number of pulses that you are exposing the animal. The big green button on the left there is on and off. It makes a very sad sound when you turn it off. Very funny. The thing hanging on the right, that is your exposure button, and it's on a telephone cord. That is a telephone cord. We used to have a really long one on my phone when I was a kid. You know, I'm that old, before cell phones. I think Dr. Skinner might remember. Take the phone all the way down the hallway to talk to your friends, right? Yeah. So that's how you get 6+ feet away from the thing. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward and easy. The switches, the exposure buttons are actually kill switches, just like on your foot pedal on your full body x-ray, meaning that you need to hold it down until the machine has completed taking the exposure. If you let up on the button before it's done, it will alarm at you, gives you an error, and it doesn't take the image. You have to go push a button on the machine to reset it. Okay, I don't know. I don't know how much you guys might be tested on film types. I would say really, you know, for my purposes, you don't need to know any of this. I have film, but I only have film in case my digital system goes down. It's strictly an emergency backup, and that's all. And I actually have 2 digital systems just in case. So I would have to be in pretty dire straits before I'd be relying on using film. In the last 6 years, I think I've only used it once to find out if my machine was broken or my sensor was broken. So that was it. But I think if you know that there are different speeds of dental x-ray films, D and E are the most common. It's kind of like the difference between, if any of you have used actual camera film, it's kind of the difference between a 400 and 800 speed film. So you can use lower light. 800 speed film will take a lower light image, but it's grainier. The detail is not as good. It's a similar type thing, and it has to do with the size of the crystals in the film. So D speed, you need greater exposure time, but you'll get better detail. Okay, so that'd be like a 400. Anyway, like I said, it's not really important as far as I'm concerned. Film sizes, this is a little more important. So the most common are size 0, 1, 2, and 4. And I would say, because most of our systems now are digital, the vast majority of them are size 2. And size 1, which is really nice for very, very small dogs and cats. If you are using a phosphor plate rather than a direct link sensor, those also come in size 4, size 3, which are kind of long and narrow, really great for exotics, and size 0, which is even tinier. But size 4 is a bigger plate. It's about that big. And it's great for big dogs, or when you're doing full mouth x-rays, because you can get a lot of teeth in a single shot. It's more expensive because it's bigger, but you're less likely to miss anything. Size 2, like I said, is it's kind of about the size, I don't know, of a matchbook, kind of a rectangular matchbox maybe. And that is the most common size for all direct link sensors. All right. It's great for just single teeth or a couple of teeth. And I'll get more into this in a minute. This is what they look like. That's a size 0, size 1 at the top left, size 2, and then that big one is a size 4. Digital. Like I said, most of them are direct link sensors. So this is a little sensor. It's usually a size 2. They're never any bigger than a size 2. You can get direct link that are size 1, but they're generally size 1 or size 2. That's it. You cannot get them larger. They will never be available larger. It's just not possible with the technology. And this will be a little sensor with a cord that runs to the computer. Direct link sensors, you get an image immediately. So you set everything up, you press your button, get your image, and it pops up on the screen, on your computer screen, within a matter of seconds. There are phosphor plate, which is a CR, a computed radiography. So for those of you who have used full body X-ray, the direct link would be the one that the plate is just integrated into the table, and you just take pictures, right? You just take your X-rays. The CR, or the phosphor plate, is the one where you have to take the plate out after you take the image and then put it into a reader. It's the exact same thing with dental X-ray. So we have these plates, these little phosphor plates, little flexible things that we take the image on, and then we take it over to a little machine, stick it in the machine reads it, and then sends that to the computer for us, okay? The nice thing about these phosphor plates is that you can get them in a size 4. You can get them in all sorts of different sizes. The way we take the images is the same. The angles that we use when we're setting up the amount of radiation and everything that we're using is the same between the two different digital options. There's less radiation when we're using digital as opposed to film, just because we don't need as much exposure, because we're not exposing, you know, a physical piece of film where the computer is making a lot of the adjustments for us. This is what a direct link sensor looks like. That's a size 2, well used. This is what we use in my practice. This is a size 4 phosphor plate. All right. This is what our setup looks like. This is not my actual facility, but it's very, very similar. That's a dog laying mostly on his back with his head turned to the side. The plate, you can see the black cord coming from the dog's mouth where the plate is, and it kind of crosses his body, and then it plugs into that little black thing over on the countertop in front of the computer. And the X-ray tube head is pointed right at this dog's face. So that looks like they're getting premolar shot. And oh nope, it's a canine. If I just looked at so there's the image that we get on the computer screen back there. That's a canine that had a root canal. Okay, so as far as how do we get the images that we want? The whole goal in taking any X-ray is to produce an image that is...
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, Siri's having trouble hearing me. The goal is always to get the most accurate representation, image representation of the organ or organs or things that we're trying to look at, right? This is true for any kind of X-ray. We always want it to be as close to the original size and shape. We want to get an accurate representation. The best way to do that is to use something called parallel technique. So I was at the dentist yesterday and I got my bite wings, and they stuck that horrible thing in my mouth that sticks up into the top of your palate and it hurts, and they say bite down on it, right? That is parallel technique. So they're sticking that thing straight up in my mouth. My tooth is pointing down this way. The sensor is right up behind my tooth, and then the tube head is here. That's parallel. So if you can imagine, what we're trying to do is to cast a shadow of the tooth onto the film, and if we just shoot straight through that tooth onto the plate, we will get an image that looks exactly like the thing that we're trying to see, all right? So this is the most accurate image. Everything is all at the same angle, boom, boom, boom. It's all lined up in a row. The problem is, in veterinary patients, there is only one area that we can get this. So, and that is in the bottom jaw, in the back, all right? Mandibular cheek teeth. So really pretty much behind the second premolar. The reason for that is because everywhere else in a dog or a cat's mouth or a ferret's mouth or a monkey's, well, monkey's not so much, but in any kind of veterinary patient's mouth, there is some kind of structure that interferes. In the bottom jaw, in the front of the bottom jaw, they have this symphysis and they have bone, so it kind of slopes. In the top, the palate, so our palates are kind of domed, right? We have this nice place we can stick our tongue, we can get caramel stuck up in there, we can get all sorts of stuff, and the bite wings can kind of sit in there. And yeah, it hurts. But if you look at a dog or a cat's mouth, their palate is very flat. They do not have any of this dome shape to their palate at all, which means we cannot set anything up straight, all right? The only place that we can get something really parallel to the teeth is down in the back of the bottom jaws, the mandibular cheek teeth, all right? This is what it looks like. This is a parallel technique. So this is a big size 4 plate so that you can see it on the photo. And it's, again, all lined up, all in a row, all parallel. Hopefully everybody can see that. That's what it looks like kind of from the top. You can still see the plate kind of peeking through the eye socket there. The reason this works on the bottom jaw is because there's nothing down there. You can stick these way in and there's nothing to harm or hurt. And this is the image that you get. So that is the big important carnasal tooth on the bottom. That's the first molar, the mandibular first molar. And you get a little piece of the 4th premolar and the 2nd molar as well. Our goal with veterinary dentistry radiography is to get the roots of the teeth. In human dentistry, they really don't care about the roots of our teeth. If you've ever had one of those panoramics where you stand in there and they get the whole thing, then they're taking your roots. It's usually done only every 5 years or so. And it's usually only an issue if you've had endodontics, root canal therapy, and that kind of thing. In human dentistry, they're looking for cavities, all right? They're not, we can go in and say, I have a toothache, and then they can do other little tests to try and localize that and figure out what exactly might be going on, and then they can take a directed x-ray of exactly that spot. We don't have that option with our patients. So I care much more about having x-rays of everything that I can't see. So all of the tooth roots and all of the bone around the tooth roots, rather than the crowns of the teeth. I have magnifying loupes and bright lights that I wear, so I can see fractured teeth, I can see cavities, I can see whatever else I need to see in the crowns of the teeth. It's the roots that I'm worried about. Okay. So that's from the front. That looks like it's a kitty cat. It's the exact same thing in cats. It's just a larger thing. So you can see the corner of that plate poking out underneath the mandible. That's okay. There's nothing there to hurt. Like I said, we can shove these things way back in. You're not going to hurt anything. All right. And this is what it looks like in a cat. So with that nice big plate, you can actually get all of the cheek teeth in a cat in one shot in general, which is kind of nice. So that's the only place that we can take parallel technique. So what are we stuck with? We're stuck with something called bisecting angle technique. And I teach a much easier way of doing this, but this is the one that you have to know. This is the one that will be in all of your textbooks and on the test. All right. If there's a question about veterinary dental radiography on the test, it'll be bisecting angle technique most likely. All right. So for everything except those mandibular cheek teeth, we use a bisecting angle technique. And this says it follows the rule of shadow writing. So just like I said, if you've got things in parallel, boom, 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 you're going to get a perfect shadow representation. We want things to be as close to that parallel as we can get it. All right. So because we cannot put our film parallel anywhere else in the mouth, we're going to rely on putting the plate in however it can go, which is usually something kind of like this. If this is the tooth and this is the plate, it's going to lean somehow because it cannot be like this. And then we have to direct the tube head at an appropriate angle so that it casts the shadow of the tooth onto the plate without making it too short or too tall. All right. So this is the trick. Okay. So if these are your tooth roots sticking up, all right, and your film is here, you're going to measure that angle, whatever that angle is between my hands, and then you're going to divide that angle in half, right, which is just crazy. So basically, let's just say it's 90 to make it easy. So if we have a 90-degree angle here, half of that is 45. So if this is your angle, your tube head is going to come in at a 45-degree angle. All right. I'm sorry, your tube head is going to come in perpendicular to a 45-degree angle. I said that wrong. Okay, so if this is 90, this is 45. Your tube head is now going to be perpendicular to that. So your tube head is going to be down like this. This is really hard to talk about. I've got some pictures coming up. So imagine when we say shadow writing, we're talking about, imagine that the tooth, the object that you want to image, is a tree in a field. The field, the ground, is your film. The sun is the tube head. All right. You're trying to direct your sun at the right angle so that your tree, your tooth tree, casts a shadow that looks exactly right. So if you're walking down the street at noon and the sun is directly overhead, you don't have much of a shadow at all, right? But if it's late in the morning or early in the afternoon, your shadow is about the same height as you. That's what we're going for. That's what we're trying to get with all of this, okay? Okay, so in this image, what we're trying to x-ray is the canine tooth. That purple line shows where the root of that canine tooth is. We're trying to image the root. The plate is just where it is. We can't put the plate anywhere else because the teeth are in the way, right? The green line that's painted on this skull is the bisecting angle. It's the angle, it is half of the angle between the tooth root and the plate. Does that make sense to everybody? So the green line is half of that angle between your purple line and your plate, is your green angle. And now you're going to bring your tube head perpendicular to that green line. And that's going to give you an accurate representation. Okay, this is what it looks, oh, nope, that's the maxillary fourth premolar. Okay. So that was for the canine tooth. This is the same thing for the maxillary fourth premolar. You can see the plate is in there and you cannot set this plate totally flat. You cannot, you cannot set it totally upright because of the palate again. So it's always going to be a kind of a funny little angle like this. If the tooth is here and that angle is here, the plate is here, tooth is here, plate is here, your angle now is there, and that's where your tube head is perpendicular. When we show you how to do this in real life, I have a much easier way of doing it. But you have to understand bisecting angle technique because that is what they will teach you everywhere else, and it's what you will be tested on. That's what it looks like from the top. And here's what your image looks like. All right. It's the same thing with the maxillary premolars in a cat. It's the exact same kind of thing. All right. So your little quiz, which technique is only used for the mandibular cheek teeth? You can only use it on the mandibular cheek teeth, and that's the parallel technique, okay? This is maxillary incisors. Again, you have to remember with those canines and incisors, your roots are kind of coming at a curve. They're not going straight up and down like the premolars are, they're kind of curving. So your incisors are here, your plate is here. Half of this angle is here, and you're putting your tube head perpendicular to that bisection of the angle. And here's what your image looks like. It's all the same in the cat. Cat mouths are just smaller, so we can usually get more teeth per shot, which is kind of nice. And it takes fewer shots to get full mouth x-rays in a cat. That's what it looks like on a kitty. That one had some teeth extracted. Maxillary canine. Okay, the canine teeth, the maxillary canine teeth are a little different. Well, similar to the incisors, they run kind of at a curve. They're very long. The problem is that they line up with the premolars. So if you just take it like this, just from the front, like we did, those incisors, those look pretty nice, right? You got a pretty nice shot of the incisors. You can see them, each of those roots very clearly separated from one another. But when you go to do the canine teeth, because the root of those canines is in the same plane as the roots of the premolars, if you just shoot it like that, it's all on top of each other. So I don't know if you can appreciate it, but that gray line down the middle, that's your canine pulp. And then these white blotches over it, that's the first premolar, the second premolar, and part of the third premolar, and they're all overlying. This is non-diagnostic. I can't tell you anything about the health of any of those teeth because they're all crunched up on top of each other. So when we're doing the canine tooth, the maxillary canine tooth, we take that same angle that we used for the incisors, but we're gonna offset it laterally, all right? So you see that? I just came off laterally. And we get this image. That's a diagnostic image. That's what we want to see. It's diagnostic for the canine, not so much for the premolars. So you see how the premolars are all kind of wonky. They're all kind of off at this weird angle and look a little bit stretched in places. But for the canine tooth, that is a diagnostic x-ray. So this is what it looks like on the cat. Same thing. It's just same. You start with the same angle as the incisors and then you offset it laterally. So it looks like from the back. And that's what your x-ray looks like. Oops. Oh, got to throw my phone on the floor every once in a while. Mandibular incisors. So this is going to be a little different because mandibular incisors and mandibular canines are different from maxillary canines in that they don't line up with the premolars. So we can often get them all in one shot. Oh, and this skull is upside down because this is how we shoot all of our mandibular. Excuse me. We do everything in dorsal recumbency. We shoot all of the mandibular x-rays, and then we roll the head and shoulders into right lateral, take the left side, roll them into left lateral, take the right side of the maxilla. But we always start here. And again, same thing. These incisor teeth are all curved. there's your plate. The bisection of that angle is here. And so your X-ray beam is going to be directed perpendicular to that. And here's what it looks like. Now, if you just push your plate back a little bit, that's what it looks like on the cat. Same thing. And you can get canines. And hopefully you can see what I mean in that these mandibular canines don't line up with those premolars. So in the right size animal, you can get all of the incisors and the canines in one shot, which makes life a little easier. There you go, just like that. Same thing in a cat. You didn't even have to take that one over again. Mandibular premolars. Okay. That's what that one looks like. That's in a dog. Okay, so now that I told you all about bisecting angle technique, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go back a little bit, and I'm going to tell you the trick. So the trick is that you only really need to know 3 angles, and everything is based off of those, okay? The first one, if we go all the way back to our mandibular cheek teeth, parallel technique, we also call 90 degrees. It's a 90-degree angle. Your plate is here, your beam is here. It's 90 degrees, right? So that's your first angle, 90. You don't really, there's still only one place you can use it, but 90 degrees. For this one, for your maxillary premolars, this is actually true for all of your premolars, bottom and top, and your maxillary molars. So everything behind the canines on the top, and then everything except, well, and all your premolars on the bottom. This angle is 45. If you are looking at this dog's head and it's sitting up like this, and the table is here, 45 degrees is where that beam is, right? So that's basically 45 degrees to the animal's face. Everything on the top behind the canines and all of your mandibular premolars, 45 degrees. Okay, I promise this works as a starting point anyway. All right, for your incisors and your canine teeth, top and bottom, your angle is 20 degrees. 20 degrees is about a peace sign. All right. Now, the key thing with this 20 degrees is that, like, if you look at this picture, this dog's nose is pointing up a little bit. Your 20 degrees is really, oh, this is so hard to do over video. Your 20 degrees is 20 degrees from perpendicular. Okay, so if this is the plate and this is 90 degrees, you want 20 degrees off of that. So you're just going to pull your tube head back to here, right? I'm sorry, my wrist is the nose. I kind of did it backwards. It's because I can't disjoint my hand. So like this image here, 20 degrees. Makes so much more sense when I can show you in person. But that's about 20 degrees, and I can't figure out how to draw on my screen. So yeah. Canine teeth are still 20 degrees, but it's 20 and another 20. So like I said, you need to deviate this laterally. So you're 20 degrees off of perpendicular, and then you're going to go another 20 degrees laterally. So this would be just a straight 20. That's a 20-20. Make sense? Clear as mud, I know. Makes so much more sense when you can actually do it. So the question then is, And it's the same for your mandibles. It's 20. You don't even usually have to do a 20/20 because you can usually get the canines in the same shot, but you can do a 20/20. I do for root canals. It's 45 for all of those premolars behind the canines, and then it's parallel technique for the cheek teeth. Again, this video is great for a lot of things, but okay. It's kind of a sideways shot, but I think if you turn your head, this is the other thing I tell people all the time when you come into the clinic, you'll see me, I'm always sideways looking at the dog and figuring out, okay, the dog's head is like this, that's 45 degrees to the dog's jaw. Oh, cat wants out. Do it. I mean, like I said, none of this came easy to me at first. I really had to work hard at figuring it out. It's much more natural now, but I still have to contort myself into weird positions so that I can actually see what I am trying to do. All right, so which are the 3 angles that we use in veterinary dental radiology? Come on, boo-boo.
20, 45, and 90.
All right, so I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna teach you that. We're gonna teach you 20, 45, and 90, and then you're gonna go out into the real world and you're gonna get your first Boston Terrier and you're gonna be like, that woman lied to me. None of these angles work because brachycephalics screw everything up. But I assure you, if you learn 20, 45, and 90, you always have a place to start. We always start here. You get good enough, we train you enough that you can figure out what is wrong with your image and how to fix it. That's my goal, right? I don't care if it's, you need to be, your bisecting angle is 27.3 degrees and you need to be perpendicular to that. I don't care. I care about getting a diagnostic x-ray. And the important thing to me is that you guys can look at these and you can say, oh, I think I know what I did wrong, and let me try moving this way to see if I can fix the problem. Okay, so now I think, if I remember this, yeah, now we're going to talk about what some of those problems are and how you would fix them. All right, so the first thing is called foreshortening. So this is what happens if your beam angle is too big. And what happens is that you end up with an x-ray image where it's much smaller than the actual tooth. All right, so we don't want this. It makes them look all short and squat. And all of these errors in imaging can impact whether or not we see disease. So we can misdiagnose things. We can miss them completely, or we can get the diagnosis wrong. We certainly don't want to take out a healthy tooth that doesn't need to be taken out. And on the flip side, we don't want to leave diseased teeth in that we shouldn't. So this would be similar if we go back to our tooth tree in the middle of a field and the sun. If we're past the point where we've gotten that, say 10 a.m. is our perfect shadow and it's exactly the right length. If we're now at 10:45, 11:15, it's getting closer to noon, that shadow is getting smaller and smaller, right? So very late morning to early afternoon, when things are closer to noon and your shadow is getting smaller. All right, so we just talked about this angle. This should be about 45 degrees to the dog's face. And you can see, instead of being about here, we now have that turned up to here. So if straight up and down over the dog's nose, straight up over his skull is noon, and now we're here at like 11, we want to be at 10. We want to be at 45, and really this is more of a 30-degree angle, right? We're going to get short, squat, little teeth. All right. So to fix that, you would move your beam more lateral. You want to take it more like this, right? More to the outside to make that closer to 45. Elongation is when the angle of the beam to the film is too small. So now we get an image that is larger than the object in the vertical dimension, right? So this is like if it's really early in the morning, the sun is, or really late in the afternoon and the sun is low on the horizon and your shadow is super long, this will really distort an image. Okay, so again, we wanted this at about 45 degrees and now we're way out here. All depends on how you look at it. Says it makes this, it's a longer angle, right? Or shorter angle, shorter to the film. See how that is shorter to the film. I think of it as being from noon. Okay, so that's going to make your roots really long and stretchy. So to fix that one, you would take your beam from here up, right? You would take it more vertical, less lateral, more vertical. Okay. I will say, real quick interjection, that I will sometimes ask staff to purposefully elongate an image. Sometimes there are things that I'm not sure it's real pathology or not. Like I'm not certain that a tooth is diseased, or maybe it's just a foramen or something else on the dog in the bone, and we'll elongate it on purpose if the area of interest, if that disease stays in the same place relative to the tooth, it probably really is disease. But if the tooth moves separately from whatever that dark spot is or whatever we're seeing, then it's not the tooth problem. So we can use this as a trick to help us find things. Okay, so any of you who have actually done dental x-ray have probably worked with a veterinarian who is like, oh, I need you to split the roots of the upper fourth premolar. I need to see the roots split. It's really important. I argue with veterinarians all the time that it's really not that important. It's important if you're doing root canals. It's important for certain things, but for the most part, digital x-rays have gotten so good that you'll be able to see disease there whether or not the roots are separated. However, we like to have them separated because we're picky. So we need to teach you how to separate the roots. This is something called the slob rule. It sort of makes sense. It doesn't entirely make sense, but I'll explain why. Slob sounds better and is easier to remember than the alternatives, SPOB or whatever it might be. So when we're talking about the upper fourth premolar, we have 3 roots. 2 towards the nose and 1 distally. So in the mouth, we call things, I think I talked to you guys about this before. Away from the midline is distal. Towards the midline is mesial. So the upper fourth premolar is supposed to have 3 roots, 2 mesial and 1 distal. All right. The mesial roots, if you just take your 45-degree angle, they're going to be perfectly lined up, and they're going to look like one root, right? So we want to separate those roots, and we do that by moving the tube head just a little bit, all right? So when we move the tube head, and we move it, what am I, okay, I'm gonna move it like that a little bit. So just by moving the tube head, I'm gonna change this image so that these two roots, you can now see them separately from one another, and the distal. Depending on which way you move the tube head, tells you which one of these roots is now more mesial on your image, okay? So the same root is the lingual root. The opposite root is the buccal root. Now, it's not really a lingual root, it's a palatal root, but we're just gonna ignore that, right? Because we're not on the bottom jaw, we're on the top jaw. But SPOB doesn't make sense. It's not a word, so we call it slob. So if I move my tube head this way, let's see, towards the nose, then the root that is closest to the nose, where my tube head is going to be the palatal root, the lingual root. And the one further away from where my tube head is going to be the buccal one, all right? If I move my tube head this way, distally, then the one closest to my tube head is going to be the lingual one, and the opposite one is going to be the buccal one, okay? So all we're doing is we're taking that 45-degree angle. This is, again, so hard to do without, just in video, from a 45-degree angle, and we're going to move it distally, or we're going to move it mesially. Same 45 degrees, we're just going to kick it from the back or kick it from the front. I'm going to tell you right now, you only ever want to kick it from the back. You only want a distal tube shift. It feels weird. Everybody wants to do a mesial tube shift because the dog's eye is right here. And there's this nice little divot on the front of their face, and everybody just wants to tuck that tube head right into this nice little divot. It fits really well in there. You don't get as good an image. I'm going to show you in just a minute. So you always want to do the opposite of what feels right and do a distal tube shift, okay? I promise you. All right, that's a distal tube shift. That's what I've been trying to show with my fingers. So that's shifting the tube head distally. It's still at 45 degrees. We've just kicked the whole thing back. And yeah, you're shooting right through the eyeball. It's okay. Like I said, you can shoot dental x-rays all day long. You are not gonna make this dog glow. He's not gonna lose his eyeball. He's not gonna be blind. It's all gonna be fine. I promise, all right? That's what it looks like from the top. So again, if we go back here, you can see there's that nice little divot on the front of the face, and everybody always just wants to tuck that right in there. Don't do that. This is a distal tube shift. This is how it should look. Again, you're shooting right down through the eye. There it is from the front, all sorts of fun angles. And this is what your image looks like, okay? So 3 roots, your big distal one there on the left, and then you've got the 2 on the front. This is a distal tube shift. So the more distal of those 2 roots, the one that is further towards the left is the palatal root, the lingual root. The one that is further from your tube head is the opposite, is the buccal. Opposite buccal, same lingual, opposite buccal, slob. All right? If you take a distal tube shift every single time, the root that looks like it's in the middle is always going to be the palatal root. It's the easiest way to remember it. And you can always tell just by looking at the image whether it's a distal tube shift or not. Because if you shift it mesial, this is what that looks like. Again, nice and tucked right up in the front of the face, and that nice little hollow. Oh, it fits so perfectly. Oh, look at that. It's just, yeah. But this is your image. You can't see the distal root at all. Okay, so it's non-diagnostic. You're going to have to take 2 images to get that tooth if you're doing a mesial tube shift, because you've totally lost that distal root into the first molar. In this image, the root that is further forward is the palatal root, the lingual root, okay? And because it's closer to the tube head, which has been shifted towards the front of the mouth. That the one that's on the left is the buccal root, okay? I don't like this image. I don't like this image at all. It is totally non-diagnostic. We take everything with the distal tube shift, just get into the habit of doing it that way. It's a better image all around. And then you just know that the middle root on your x-ray is always the palatal one. Okay. All right. So which arrow, arrow is pointing at which root? The mesiobuccal, the mesiopalatine, or the distal root? You can see all 3 of the roots. So you know it was a distal tube shift. That big fat root is on the distal side. So that root is your mesiopalatine. Same lingual. Okay. The extraoral technique, I tell you, I hardly ever use it. 2 or 3 times maybe in my entire dentistry career. Especially if you are using film, it can be very valuable for the maxillary cheek teeth in cats, and that's because the way their zygomatic arch lies over their teeth. It can be, with film in particular, it can be difficult to see all of the roots of those maxillary teeth. With digital x-ray, that is really not an issue. You can also elongate these sometimes to just pop those roots out a little bit so that you can see them a little bit better. But every once in a while, there is a cat that I have had to do this on. Rare, but everybody always wants to know how to do it once they get into this kind of thing. And by doing an extraoral technique, meaning that your film or your sensor is outside of the mouth. In all of these other things, we've been putting the sensor inside the mouth. In this case, we use it outside of the mouth. This will remove the zygomatic arch from where the tooth roots are. You must remember to mark your film, whether it's right or left, because the sensor is outside of the mouth. When you take this shot, it will look backwards from what it should be if you're just looking at it. So you have to mark it as extraoral and right or left, okay? What you're gonna do is you're gonna put the film on the table and you put the cat on top of the film, and then you angle the beam on top of that. So it looks like this. The cat's mouth is propped open with a little tiny tuberculin syringe mouth gag. We've put the film on the table. We put the cat on top of the film, and then we prop the head to try and get it even-ish. And then that's what we get. We shoot, you can see we're shooting this, oops, sorry. We're just gonna shoot that straight down. We're trying to get this cat is laying on the left side. It is the left maxillary cheek teeth that we are x-raying, okay? So we're just shooting straight down through the open mouth onto the film. And this is what it looks like. And you can see that bright white line is the zygomatic arch, and it's now not, well, multiple white lines there. The curvy one kind of in the middle is the zygomatic arch, and this pulls it off of the tooth roots. All right, so that's actually that's extraoral. I'm pretty sure that's an intraoral. You can see how the zygomatic arch kind of lies over everything on that one, and it does not on this one. Okay. Yeah, so the thing that you need to do for an extraoral shot that you don't normally have to do is to mark which side of the mouth you were taking. Hand developing, you know, y'all come back to me and let me know if your test has questions on this. I don't think it will. There's just a little chair side darkroom thing. I think there's a picture of it here. It has little cups with water and developer and fixer and water, and you stick your hands through here and you ding, 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 ding. It's very awkward. Basically, the rule is you dunk it in the developer until you just start to see an image, and then you rinse it. And then you let it dry for about 10 minutes, you look at it, and then you need to put it in the fixer if that is okay. It's more than you need to know. This is what the film looks like. There's a black piece of paper, and then the film, and then this foil to protect it. This is what it looks like inside. You've got these little clips on these tiny little films and these cups full of different little dip tanks. And you can either measure the time, you have to take the temperature of each of the little things in there. You have to know what the temperature is of your chemicals. And then you do it you set a timer. We never do it that way though. We just do it by sight. You just dip it until, like I said, until the image first appears. As soon as it appears, you take it out. Then you rinse it. Then you put it in fixer for a minute. Then you can examine it. And then you need to put them back in fixer for at least 10 minutes. If you fail to do that, the image will be lost. And you'll go back and try and look at it later. It'll be gone forever. So then you need to rinse it again thoroughly after 10 minutes in the fixer, let it dry. These are just a pain. You have to keep them. They're x-rays, so they're medical documents. So you have to have a place to store them properly for 5 years, 7 years, 5 years. We don't recommend trying to put these through regular film developers. If anybody's still using those, again, I just think most of this stuff is becoming really obsolete. You can actually, somebody always asks if you can take dental x-rays on a regular full body x-ray unit. You can. It's all the same physics, but you can't move the tube head. You have to actually move the patient. You can move the tube head a little bit. So it's just a lot of manipulating the patient into the right position so that you can have the tube head at the right angle. I don't recommend it. That's just about fixing. And that's it. That's all I've got, you guys. How nice is that? Not too bad, just an hour. Could have been worse, I hope.
Does anybody have any questions? And again, like she said, it'll be easier when we can get you back in there and you're actually doing this on you know, the animal, or I know she sometimes has you practice with the skull too.
Yeah, if I don't have a patient there. I've got lots of skulls now too. Oh, I've got 3, so
that's
3 of each. 3 dogs, 3 cats. So
good. That's good. Need to get you an exotic skull in there too, or something to have.
well, I've got monkeys downstairs, but I don't take those to work. That's my personal collection.
Yeah, I understand. And then plus people might freak out and think it's, you know, something.
Yeah, the female baboons actually are fairly human looking. Yeah. Yeah. They're fun. I think I might have a raccoon down there. Nothing all that exciting though.
That would be fun.
But yeah.
Well, if anybody has any questions before we let her go, don't anybody go away, because I still need you for a couple of minutes here. But we can let Dr. Ribka go. But if anybody has questions, go ahead and chime in now.
Have you done a dental on a raccoon?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we did a couple of raccoons at the zoo. I've done root canals on a bunch of their otters. And I think 3 of their otters I've done root canals on. I've taken teeth out of a couple of their monkeys. The possums and raccoons at the zoo. They're part of the teaching group. So
Yeah,
yes.
the hand pets or whatever. We did a root canal on the male lion when I was at Acres. That was pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. Big teeth. Yeah. Possums have like 50,000 incisors.
It's thin, huh?
Ridiculous how many incisors they have. It's stupid, and it's variable, so you never know exactly what you're getting into. But yeah.
Anybody else? Well, thank you. And
you're very welcome.
I will be in contact with you about getting the books, and then in contact with you about, when we can get students over there to start.
Yeah. I'm having a really hard time getting, I just ordered some face shields. They're so expensive.
I have some that I got for $10, but they're reusable and they have like glasses on them. Like I can put them over my glasses.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
I'll have to send you the link to that if you
The other
like
thing,
those.
I'm having a really, really hard time. I haven't been able to get isolation gowns at all that are anywhere near affordable. The only things that I think Tracy found some the other day, but they were so outrageously expensive. I'm like, I'm not going to spend $10 per gown. That's crazy.
And it's so funny. I mean, we used to be able to get a pack of them for, whatever,
$3.
$10.
I mean,
and then it would be 30 or 40 of them in there. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're working on it. I'm trying. If you hear of anything, great. Or if you guys have other options. We are open, we are working. Clients are having to wear masks. And we're doing kind of one client at a time. So we only really have one person in the build, or one family in the building at a time. But
we don't even let clients in, so you're a step ahead of me there.
It's so hard to do what I do without talking to them. I mean, we give them the option. They can sit in the car and I can look at the dog, but so much of what I do is sit down and draw the picture, and it's a small enough facility that I can space my appointments out so that we have time to clean in between every single client. So it's working. It's not perfect, but it's working. So be in touch. Let me know.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Also.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. How's everybody doing?
I have some questions for you. Well,
Okay.
really one. So you said that you wanted the manila folders with their documents in it, like paper clipped. I have these.
That's fine. Just something to keep it together. I don't care. Anything.
Okay.
Anything works, just so that it's not like you're handing me a bunch of loose papers and they get all mixed up, So, yeah, you can put them in something like that. Do make sure when you have printed these documents that they are the full size, because some people have had some issues with that, and they are legal documents, some of them, and I have to have them, not microscopic. So just make sure that's not a problem. I don't know if Dr. Jennifer left or not. She was here for a minute because I was going to see if she had anything to talk to you about. I don't see her anymore. So I guess she must have left. We do have to do an election. Sierra had to opt out, so we do not have a president anymore. So I guess if somebody, I'm going to give y'all this week, if you want to nominate yourself or nominate somebody, send that email to me, and then I'll make a ballot and we can vote on it, and I'll have you just email them back to me or something like that. so that we can get a president on board and up and running. Because I did do a lot of communication with her, and I really need somebody as a point person, while we're in this COVID thing. Okay. I do have pretty much, I think everybody. Go ahead. Somebody was going to say something. No. Okay. I do have. I did take notes, so hopefully y'all did. I did record that, so I think it'll give me a link and I'll be able to post it so that you'll have it. If not, I do usually have her PowerPoint somewhere and I can, just load the PowerPoint. Has everybody signed up to pick up a radiation badge? I got a couple of people coming tomorrow, a bunch on Thursday. Be patient on Thursday because I do have a group of people. If you see, obviously, a student talking to me, just wait, but in the back, don't come crowd them because I don't want anybody to get upset if somebody's, right up their butt kind of thing. So, does anybody not signed up? Please do that. I think
Is there a link with the places to do it? Because I emailed you. I did not see the different times and days. Someone had a screenshot and sent it to me.
it was in the announcement when I put it on Canvas.
I know I only got like the first half for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on with my notifications.
Who is this?
Sydney.
I don't know if you've got a link to another email address or something like that, or I have no idea. Check and see what email address you have on your Canvas. Make sure you're running it on the proper up-to-date internet carrier. That could be a problem too. Firefox sometimes is better for Canvas than something else. Or what are you running it on? Internet Explorer or?
Google Chrome.
Yeah, you may want to put it on Firefox and see if that works better. I don't know.
Okay.
To see, because if not, I mean, you're just gonna have to. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't know what the issue is with it. And then make sure you have whatever email address you have it linked to. You may want to link it to your Delgado email address instead if you're having issues with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I just don't know why it disconnected for a reason.
Okay. Well, I have you down that you're supposed to come tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. I was making sure that you did get that email though.
I sent everybody a confirmation. I got it and see you then. So if you didn't get that, I don't know.
Okay. I'm
about
gonna
that.
fix it.
Okay. So this week, go ahead and send me if you want to be nominated or if you want to nominate somebody for president, because we need to fill that fairly quickly. And then I'll make a ballot and I'll just post a ballot maybe on Canvas. If I can figure out how to do it maybe as a quiz or something, and that way y'all can just click on it. If not, I'll just have you send me an answer. That's not going to be like it's a whole big deal. So sending me an answer won't be too hard. I just want to get the spot filled fairly quickly. We're supposed to have a test in this class. When did I have it for this week? I think I'm gonna put it off till next week, just because we had issues with not being able to have that other Zoom. When did I have it for?
For Thursday.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and have another Zoom meeting on Thursday because I want to go over KVP and MA and all that a little bit more with you, and the heel effect. Did anybody, y'all need to watch those videos. That would be helpful for you too. The videos that I've posted, one of them talks about, how x-rays are made, and it's real basic. It's like a cartoon. So it really hits home and tells you how to do it. There's one about the heel effect. I think there's one about the Sante's rule. So try and watch those videos, because remember I tried to put them on here. I figured out what it is I can put them on mine and screen share. I just have to take the earphones out and you can hear then my computer. So I can play some of those next on Thursday if we want to do that, just to kind of help you see those. But if you could watch them, that would be good. So I'm going to move the exam probably to next week. I'll post a date, and it'll be online. The same thing as, obviously as what we have had to been doing. For next semester, we did get some emails yesterday about that. It looks like they want us to do mostly online stuff. I know As far as labs, y'all are pretty much almost done in our in-class labs. Some of your labs were things that were going to happen off campus or other places like Dr. Ribka's x-ray tape type stuff and things like that. So we're going to have to work through those and see what we can do. I know Dr. Jennifer still had to do some clin path things with y'all, and one of them was like doing a fecal and doing a heartworm test. So if y'all could actually do those in some of your externships and maybe video yourself for that, because that is an ABMA skill. We can't just have somebody grade you on it that's not an employee. So it would require a video because we may not be able to get to that in lab. She may actually send y'all an email out about that. So it's heartworm test and fecal. I mean, it's not real basic stuff, all you got to do is get somebody to film you, putting the fecal, setting up the fecal, putting it on the scope and looking at it and just make sure we see who you are. So you may want to start a video log of a lot of these skills. Because remember I told y'all to video radiography skills and things like that, because it's going to be impossible to probably get to MedVet and get everybody in to do those. So really start videoing stuff when you can, as much as possible, and just make sure you identify yourself in the video. And it doesn't need to be long, a couple of seconds. It's all it's going to take, whatever it takes to fill up the fecal cup, put the cover slip or the slide, however that particular clinic does it. You don't have to wait. You can say, I've waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that clinic protocol is. And then you can show yourself putting it on the microscope and looking at it. That's all you need to have. Okay. So you can do something along those lines. So I'm not sure if we're going to have with y'all any in-class stuff much for the fall. For the spring, obviously that's LSU. Hopefully we'll be able to get in there. We do not have a coordinator. Callie, who was coordinating it last year and the last couple of years, has left LSU. She's actually going to be at MedVet. So we need to get a new coordinator, and I need to meet with them and get all that set up. So that's a whole nother job to deal with. But hopefully LSU will happen. So just, still plan on it happening at this point, because we don't have a whole other options for large animal stuff. So we'll have to wing it if it doesn't happen. Can't think of anything else at this exact moment. Does anybody have any questions? So make sure the PowerPoints that you're going over, the film ones and things like that, because there could be questions, just like Dr. Ribka talked about. There's not going to be a lot of processing with film and dip tanks and things like that you're going to do hands-on anymore. They actually took away the skill. They used to have the skill to use an automatic processor. Still last year, they took it away. So you don't have that skill, but there still may be some questions on VT&E. So I wouldn't study those PowerPoints extensively, but make sure that you kind of know some logistics about the darkroom. I think I have a PowerPoint about that. And you know some stuff about film and the cassettes and things like that. And when we do actually get into the classroom, I do want to pull those out. So I may have one day that y'all may come in for medicine or something, my medicine class that I normally have next semester, and maybe show you some of the cassettes and the caliper and things like that you might not see at the practices y'all are at now, okay, because they don't exist anymore. Other than that, I'm actually going to text Dr. Jennifer and see if she wants to come back on and see anything else to y'all. You have any other questions or anything?
We've decided on who we want the president to be.
Oh, y'all chatted among yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay. We would like Laura to be the president.
Good. That was, because I mean, she was in the running, and but I didn't want to do that just straight up me make that choice. So that's good. Congratulations, Laura. Are you still here? Yeah, there you are. Laura today. So I thought I was gonna show her up at work. We had a very difficult dog that threw poo and all this stuff all over the place. It was a nice dog. He was just rambunctious and all that. And we had to give him we gave him vaccines, which we got him in. We just kind of distracted him. Then we had to give him an oral vaccine, the Bordetella vaccine. So I said, here, Laura, have fun. The little dog just took it with no problem whatsoever. at all. She had no problem at all after we had poo flying and we're all breathing heavy and all that. So anyway, she had an easy break today with that. So hopefully anybody, externship questions, problems, concerns.
So my evaluation, I haven't hit 50 hours yet. I can still get him to put the evaluation in, but I haven't hit the 50 hours.
A lot of y'all may not be at that point, and that's fine. Send an email and copy me and Dr. Jennifer on it, and just say, I'm only at 25 hours. When do you want me to do my evaluation? If you have at least 35, 40 hours, you could probably do it, but it's kind of hard to do it with just 20 hours or just 15 or something like that. So, that's fine. Don't stress about it.
Okay, so whenever we do get the 50 hours, then would we do the login evaluation?
No, like I said, if you get about 35, 40, 45, anywhere from 35 to 50, you can go ahead and do it if you want.
Okay.
We're going to be a little, she just texted back. She just wanted to say hi. She logged in for a minute and, but she didn't really have anything to tell you. I'll make sure if there's any other skills that she may want you to go ahead and video. She may still get to do like the heartworm test and the fecal and all that with you in a lab in class, but it would be good to have those particular items because you're probably going to do them quite a bit in your externship. Go ahead and have them logged as a video somewhere that you can, use if we need to. We don't have to scramble to get it, anything like that. Anything that you can think of that is on that original skill list that you had when you were with Heather at MedVet, are things that you did in class with Dr. Jennifer, skin scrape, measuring eye pressure. Jenna and Laura got to do that quite a bit today with me. Um, Staining eyes, anything along those lines that you can video, go ahead and have a video log just because of what we're going through right now and the difficulty we may have getting some things done. Okay. So the more videos that you can log and just have in a reserve, the better off for you so that we can get these skills completed. And because I don't know what the AVMA is going to do if we can't get them completed. I mean, they've got to have some leeway, but when it's simple skills like fecal and heartworm tests and things like that, I don't think they're going to give us a whole lot of leeway. That's stuff you do all the time. If it's passing a gastric tube down a dog, I think they're going to give us a little leeway with that one, with you watching a video or something like that. But, if I'm just hoping when they come visit us, we have a site visit coming up in 2022, that they're not going to ask us for anything about this time as far as COVID goes. Ask us stuff before and after. That'll be much better. So I will figure out the date for the test. It'll probably be open all day, but you'll have a certain time frame to take it so that everybody can take it at a different time. But I think we're just too soon. I didn't get enough information in to y'all yet to take it. So I'm thinking next week would be a better shot. There is, let's see, on the 1st, I was doing a Zoom lecture for externship. So we're all just going to kind of check in on that. That's all that one is. Okay. We're going to check in, talk about externship concerns. Dr. Jennifer will probably be in on that one. And we'll have Chris in on that one too, because he's not in radiology. So he doesn't chime in on this. I think that's all. Oh, y'all got the notice about Larissa's Zoom lecture. That one's on a Wednesday, the 15th of July at 2 p.m. Normally we would go to the Primate Center, but we can't, obviously. Number one, Delgado won't let us have field trips. And number two, the Primate Center is not going to let us in. They are doing COVID work and things like that. So hopefully she'll give us a little insight on that. But she is a graduate of the program, and she will just give you an insight on research, because it is an aspect that is very important in veterinary medicine. It's not always an aspect that everybody likes, and I don't want you to, I'm not trying to sway you into liking research. I just want you to be aware of it, because you're going to get questions about it all the time. She's just going to give you an insight on how these animals are cared for, how they live and what's done with them. And it's always gratifying for people when they go to the primate center and they see the breeding colony. It's outside, it's in these big, huge cages where the animals can run, and they're in the grass, and they live a really good life. it's you know, they lived a life that's better than some pets that are out there, and I won't even go that far, but you know, some pets are treated much worse. Some kids are treated much worse than the primates at the primate center, just to give you an idea. But unfortunately, we can't do that. Maybe we can do it, you know, on another time frame in the next semester before y'all go to LSU or something like that. You know, I'll keep trying to take a look and see if we can get to go, because it's always an eye-opening experience for everybody. But we'll have that Zoom lecture at 2 p.m. on the 15th, Wednesday. She's gonna start it, and I'll come in. So she's gonna host it. So she'll probably send me a link, and then I'll send you that, you know, when I get it. So other than that, hopefully the final exam will stay in the same place. Hopefully everything else stays in the same place. And I don't know, as far as registration, did Dr. Jennifer send y'all what y'all needed to register for the fall yet?
Yeah,
Okay,
she sent it
okay,
before she sent it with the summer classes.
got it. Okay, got it. Yeah, so just you know, make sure that you're on top of that, so we don't forget about that. All right, any other questions?
I know this is probably something that you might be able to ask them, but would somebody from Acres be able to do a Zoom meeting since we can't go there either?
I can ask them. I doubt that they may, but maybe I can get the girl from the zoo, because she did a lot of stuff that talked to us in the hospital, to do one. Acres is a little bit all over the place, so I don't know, but we can try. But I mean, I can always talk to y'all about Acres in a class if y'all want. I worked there for a couple of years. But I'll try. I'll ask. It's
Thank you.
always hard. Huh? Go ahead.
I was saying thank you because I'm actually really interested in rehabilitating and different rescues like that. So that's why I was really excited for.
Yeah. I mean, you can always do an internship with them, um, in one of their internship programs. Acres and the zoo aren't doing the externship programs with us anymore. They were short, I don't know, veterinarians and just workers, and things got out of hand. They were supposed to have a meeting and have, instead of having one student do something, they were going to have a little small externship, like 2 or 3 weeks, and have a couple of students come. We just haven't gotten there yet because they haven't had the time to meet with us to set it up. There's a lot of legal things when it comes to the zoo and Acres that are much more than just going to a clinic. And you know, I'm waiting on them, you know, and I can only push them so much, you know, before they say, well, we're not doing anything. So, but you know, maybe I can still try to do that field trip in the fall too. We'll just have to see how it goes. It is mostly all outside. So it's not like we're inside a building too much. We walk through the building and look at the hospital. Um, and which is converted into more of a teaching thing now. It's Acres is in a totally different realm than what it used to be, when I was there. We did a lot of surgeries and things like that, but they're not really doing that. They're making it more of a almost a drive-through park conservation kind of thing. So it's ever changing. I'm sure it may change from that, you know, 10 years from now. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see. All right. Any other questions? So everybody's externships are going very well. Right. Just please, if you're having any issues, at your externship, we need to know about it right away. And the few of you who do not have, I think everybody's got a place. Let me double check. Does anybody not have a place at all yet? I know not everybody started because I haven't given the start dates to everybody. Most of y'all have started, but I need all that paperwork that I keep emailing y'all about. So if you have questions or concerns, you know, contact me and I'll see. Right now I have Chris and Sydney coming tomorrow. Did I miss anybody else that's coming tomorrow? Okay. And I'm in the back breezeway when y'all come, kind of where my car normally is. The cop's usually sitting in the other breezeway, the one when you pull into the school, that first breezeway, the one y'all walk in. I'm not in that one. I'm in the other one. So come to the second parking lot and come there. And basically it's just quickly hand me your paperwork and you can get your radiation badge and head out. right. Stay safe and stay in contact. And we'll get through all this mess, hopefully. Y'all doing all right over there, Ashley? I see you in the corner. You look like a statue. You haven't moved. Okay, you just moved. All right, I guess let me see everybody so I don't need to see you, Jenna and Laura. I know what y'all look like. Carly, are you there? Did you fall asleep? There's Carly. There's Maddie. All right, Laura, Heather. Okay. Y'all all look pretty much the same. Y'all didn't change too much. Nobody grew 2 heads or 6 ears or anything like that.
Maddie, did you get your hair done?
Huh? Did I get my hair done? No, it actually needs to be done. That's gray right there. Oh,
Maddie looks like her hair's blonder.
oh, Maddie got her hair done. She might have. It looks like it's highlighted. Okay. And we got a cat, and I've seen a dog, and Tiffany's up there. So I'm actually in the cat room. That's their scratching post behind me. So they're not real happy that I'm in here with the door closed because they want to come in here. They were investigating all my stuff. They weren't happy. So. All right. Well, I will have another one of these fun encounters on Thursday, and we'll try to go over some material, and then we'll figure out what's actually going to be on the midterm, depending on what we get through. All right. And I'll send you another date for the midterm. All right. Y'all have a good night.